Good evening, Mattoon. We are here. We are so excited in the studio live at WEIU. My name is Keanne Armstrong, and we are celebrating Mattoon this evening.
Yes, we are. My name is Jana Johnson, and we are so happy tonight to be bringing this great program on Mattoon. Our auditorium here is full of storytellers. We have some behind us. We have some in our interview area that's going to be really cool to hear from people here at Mattoon tonight.
And our control room is behind us. We have behind the scenes as well. Lots of great stories to share with you tonight. We have 32 stories from the city of Mattoon. We have 39 storytellers to tell those stories. So you're in for a great night of television to hear all about the way Mattoon came to be, what's going on today, some memorials, and some interesting people. So stay tuned tonight. It's all about Mattoon. Mattoon, this is our story.
Mattoon, This Is Our Story is supported in part by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to bring you this program, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work, and we're proud to support the communities we serve. More information about CCI available at consolidated.com. First Mid Illinois Bank and Trust. At First Mid, we strive to fulfill the financial needs of our communities with personal service, professionalism, and integrity. Headquartered in Mattoon, Illinois, we have our local team dedicated to the needs of our customers. First Mid is proud to support Mattoon. This is our story. In Mattoon, Paris, Taylorville, and Pana, Gowan Park staff arranges daily activities for your loved ones who suffer from Alzheimer's or dementia in a home environment setting. Gowan Park, the comfort of a promise kept. Serving the Mattoon area, Auto Truck and Farm Repair hopes you enjoy Mattoon. This is our story. Located at 1416 Moultrie in Mattoon, Auto Truck and Farm Repair offers brakes, tires, and auto and truck maintenance. More information available at autotruckfarmrepair.com. The Fellowship Center, apartment living for low-income seniors and the disabled, is proud to support Mattoon. This is our story, offering an independent living center, monthly social activities, and transportation. The Fellowship Center in Mattoon. Arby's Restaurant, locally owned with locations in Charleston and Mattoon, offering roast beef sandwiches, curly fries, market fresh sandwiches, and milkshakes. Arby's is proud to support Mattoon. This is our story on WEIU. Aquanix supports all things Mattoon, and Mattoon, this is our story. Aquanix water-based cleaners and disinfectants are EPA registered and made from natural elements. More information available at getclean.com or at 258-8588 in Mattoon. Mears Automotive, a proud supporter of Mattoon and delighted to be a part of Mattoon. This is our story. Mears Automotive offers lube, oil and filter changes, and engine and transmission repair. Mears Automotive, located at 3320 DeWitt in Mattoon. Sarah Bush Lincoln Health System, providing care for all and creating healthy communities, offering general and specialty medicines and a complement of diagnostic and rehabilitative services. Sarah Bush Lincoln, trusted, compassionate care.
So Helen was born, Helen Bergner, and she lived on a farm outside between Mattoon and Charleston in 1897. She was a prominent member of the Mattoon community. Her and her family contributed so much to Mattoon. She loved horseback riding and birding, and she loved to manage the farm that she owned, and her family was able to provide lots of opportunities for her to travel, an educational opportunity at Northwestern, which was rare for young women of her age. And she had lots of hobbies up into her death in 1991 at the age of 94. Here in Mattoon, she was the first female pilot of Coles County. She was the first president of the Historical Society. She started the drama club here in Coles County as well, which I think still exists, still meets today as well. But her biggest contributions was starting Douglas Hart Foundation in 1963, and their two biggest attractions were the Friendship Garden and Douglas Hart Nature Center. In 1963, the Friendship Garden was built. It was actually right across the street from her house. So I think what happened on her travels one time is in England, she saw these beautiful tea gardens. And she thought, wow, wouldn't I love to bring that back to Mattoon? So she was always trying to improve and help and contribute to Mattoon. And so I think she said, I want a tea garden and I want it right across from my house. So every day when I wake up, I see my garden. So Friendship Garden is located at 17th Street and Lafayette. The best time to visit, I think, is spring and summer. We have 17 different spring bulbs, the beautiful like spring trees, red buds, magnolias, and all the flowers that we have there. So a few years later, she had a little secret that she wanted to start a nature preserve. So in 1971, she plowed up 35 acres of bean field outside Mattoon, and people thought, what is she up to? But she was starting a nature preserve because she thought there was so much development happening in the community. She wanted a place to preserve nature that people could enjoy. So with the field plowed up, 10,000 trees were planted, and they played the waiting game. She knew what she wanted when they put the trails in the late 70s, early 80s. She was out there saying, this is where this trail is going to go. This is where I want this sign. I want more walnut trees. She did her research. She was a businesswoman, so she absolutely had a vision and knew what she wanted. In 1987, the first nature center went in. It was called the Nature Shack, so a little small building. But it developed in 1991 and 1998. We built on with the buildings. So today we have the bird viewing area with a new water feature. We have the exhibit area, Discovery Den, which is a great play area for people, the library, classrooms. But outside features, man, they've been under construction recently as well. So they always say the path to success is always under construction. That represents us. Every few years we're trying to develop something new, contribute something new. We're always working on conservation, just keeping the trails and up maintenance for our visitors. We have hundreds of volunteers that help us with our 5 major events that we put on. We have over hundreds of programs that we offer each year for the public, not including our 50+ summer camps that we do for youth, which is a great time, busy but fun time. We also have over 1,000 kids on field trips, so our annual attendance is at 15,000 a year out at the Nature Center. As the education director, my job is to fulfill her mission. What did she want from the Nature Center? Yes, it's a place for people to explore and enjoy, but where can we go in the future and kind of keep her mission alive? So I've been reading her diaries when she was a young college student, and I read her travel journals, and she always enjoyed birding. Birding was a huge factor of her life, so we try to make that a focal point, central point for the Nature Center. We put ourselves right along with other recreational places in the area. We fit a niche. The next nature centers are 30 miles away from us, so we actually bring in outside of Coles County. So we have a very large gathering of people that want to enjoy nature. It may be nature, or maybe it's our craft programs, or it's our summer camps. We're filling so many little niches for people to enjoy.
Well, the Mattoon Fire Department's got a very long and storied history. We actually became a fire department officially March 3rd, 1861, and the first Mattoon Fire Company was set up at that time. In 1864, they disbanded the original fire company and they put together a Mattoon Volunteer Fire Company. It consisted of 20 firefighters with a chief and assistant chief. They had one hand-drawn hand-pumped cart. The guys would grab it and pull it to where the fire was. They didn't use horses yet. And that was our fire department. In 1885, that volunteer fire company moved into what was our first real official fire station, and it was located at 116 South 17th Street in Mattoon, which is actually now the Hunan Chinese restaurant. If you were to look at the Hunan restaurant now, it's one story, but originally that building was 3 stories tall. The interesting fact is that the firefighters, their residence quarters was up on the 3rd floor. The city clerk, city offices were on the 2nd floor of that building, and then the stables where the horses stayed and the apparatus were on the bottom floor. When the fire call would come into the guys, they would jump onto the pole that was on the 3rd floor, slide through the city clerk's office, and during business hours could wave at the mayor and the city clerks and whoever was working in there, and slide down to the stables where they would get on the wagons and the horses would take them to the fire. Punch and Judy were the name of our 2 first horses that came into the Mattoon Fire Department. This would have been around 1899, and the guys got tired apparently of pulling the wagons by hand, and we had a citizen in Mattoon. Her name was Carrie Kingman, and she donated these 2 horses. An interesting story with Judy was the fact that they'd had a fire one evening there, and they got all the horses put down for the night, and then the firefighters went to their quarters for the evening. When they woke up the next morning, there was a colt in the stall next to her, and she'd actually had that colt during the night after having responded to the fire that day, and they didn't even know she was expecting, was the whole kicker to it. In 1905, we had a mayor at the time. His name was Mayor Byers. And Mayor Byers authorized the ending of the volunteer fire department and set up and established the Mattoon Fire Department as we know it today as a career paid fire department, which was something unusual for that time period for cities the size that it was, to have those actual guys that were doing that as a career. In 1929, City Hall, as it stands now on 19th Street, is where we moved into that as part of our fire department there, and all the apparatus and everything was moved to there, and it was the one single station at that point. In 1937, Station 2 was built on Lakeland Boulevard, and that station was built for the purpose. In the time, as we know, Mattoon was a railroad community, and the north side and the south side of the town could be easily cut off from one another by the tracks that used to run through Western Avenue and Broadway Avenue. So they built the station on the south side. It was there from 1937 until we left it in 1999 and moved to the airport, and that was our new Station 2. The city kept growing, the fire department kept growing. We added in 1969, we added Station 3, which is on the west end of town, out on Marshall Avenue. An interesting side note to the pole they would slide is that pole has stayed with us till current days. And when Station 2 was built in 1937 on Lakeland Boulevard, that pole was moved there, and we slid that pole all the way up until 1995. And once we moved out of Station 2 on Lakeland Boulevard, then that pole was moved to the current Station 1 as a museum piece for us. In 1995, I was a rookie firefighter, and I was the last one hired where we were authorized to slide the pole. Who the last guy was to slide it, I don't know, before they put the hammer down. But I remember coming into work one morning, and we were told, don't slide the pole right now, there's something happening. And we asked what, and we noticed one of the guys was missing. I won't say the guy's name, but he had actually, it was the middle of the night, it was like their 3rd call in the middle of the night. He got up kind of groggy. As he went to slide the pole, he grabbed it with his arms, but he missed it with his legs. And he dropped straight down to the apparatus bay floor, and he broke his ankle. On March 29, 1966, is what we rate as probably one of the darkest days in the history of the Mattoon Fire Department. That's, to date, and hopefully forever, is the only line of duty death that we've ever had with our fire department. And that was firefighter Bobby DeMars. Bobby was on an engine company, and the engine and a ladder truck intersected one another at the corner of 15th and Broadway. And when they did that, firefighter DeMars was thrown from the vehicle, and it rolled over and then pinned him beneath it, and he succumbed to his injuries there. It's a big memorial for us to remind us to be safe when we're driving. When new guys come on, we tell them about, we just call it the wreck. And we all know if you say the wreck, we know what we're talking about. And I think it's important that we document, we write down, we tell the stories over coffee in the morning, because the new young guys coming on need to know what their history is and where they came from to be here.
April of 1865, we got our national charter, and it was signed April 17th, 1865, just 2 days after President Lincoln was assassinated. Obviously, this is a big year for First Mid. This April we'll celebrate our 150th anniversary, and there's a lot to celebrate. President Lincoln was very helpful in getting a national banking system in place. The value of money was fluctuating greatly on a day-to-day basis, and it created all kinds of issues from a trade and commerce perspective. And so he saw the need for a national banking system, and in the mid-1860s they put that in place. In 1865, 32 influential business people from the western part of Coles County got together and decided to form a bank, First National Bank of Mattoon, and formed a board of directors, and C.M. Dole was the first president. And the Dole family is still a prominent farming family here in Coles County, and still has a strong relationship with the bank.
And one of the, call it a urban legend, if you will, that I heard when I first came to Mattoon in 1989 was that Abraham Lincoln actually signed the charter and was a customer of our bank, and that it's like a lot of these urban myths or urban legends, whatever. It's a nice story, but it wasn't actually true. Mr. Lincoln was shot on April 14th, and the charter didn't come around until a few days later on the 17th. There was a bachelor farmer in Cumberland County who used First National Bank Mattoon as his bank. Now, the farm was pretty primitive. It was about 400 acres, but there was no electricity, there was no telephone, there was no running water, there was no indoor plumbing. So over the years, this individual developed the habit of periodically coming into the bank in downtown Mattoon, and he'd do a little banking business, but then he'd proceed to go to our washroom facilities and clean himself up. And by clean himself up, I mean more than just washing the hands and face. He would really clean himself up. Kind of unique behavior, but that's what he did, and that's how the man got by. That man died in 1964. And when they read his will, everybody was very surprised to learn that he had actually left his farm to our bank, because of all the good service that we had provided him, both banking and otherwise, I guess. So in 1964, the bank ended up owning a farm. Fairly common for banks to own real estate, but usually it's after a loan defaults or something like that. And in all the history of American banking, I don't know that anybody has ever actually intentionally willed his farm to the bank. But that's what happened to us back in 1964. We worked out an arrangement with this private investor. We traded the farm that we had owned since 1964 to him in exchange for the old post office building, and then we in turn donated that post office building to the Mattoon School District, and that's what they use today. It was about the most classic example of a win-win-win-win situation as you could possibly come up with. The fellow got a farm that he wanted. The school district got some much-needed space, and which has served them well for a good number of years. And the community was able to keep a really important old building, part of our history, from perhaps falling into disrepair.
This is where our roots are. It's foundational. It's where many of our 400 employees live and work in the surrounding area, And we know it's an important part of the community. We know that the impact that we make, not only from our business activities, but from our philanthropical and community support things that we do as a bank and our employees invest in. And it's just very, very important to me, to our board of directors, and to our employees that we continue to grow our operation and keep it right here in Mattoon.
When you think about Mattoon, people usually think about like the youth programs in Mattoon and some of the local sports things that they're familiar with, but they forget that Mattoon actually started with minor league teams all the way back in the 1880s. So Mattoon's had baseball for many, many, many years, and they go back to the 1940s and 50s when the minor league programs were really relevant in the Midwest. One of my favorite things that I think about is my grandpa used to talk about the ballpark out by the root beer stand, and the root beer stand was A&W Drive-In, but what is now a General Steel, which is basically a salvage yard in Mattoon, used to be a minor league baseball park in Mattoon. So it's kind of an interesting history when you look at it from that perspective. With Mattoon and their long history with Babe Ruth baseball, it actually dates back to the 1950s, and kind of an interesting thing is there was a group of people, businessmen in Mattoon, that really wanted to develop youth baseball, and they became affiliated with Babe Ruth Baseball, which was an East Coast presence in youth baseball. And when they became affiliated with them, they became the first charter member in the state of Illinois of Babe Ruth Baseball, which is kind of an interesting fact that Mattoon is the #1, or the longest history of Babe Ruth Baseball in the state. But in addition to that, they're the third longest in the Midwest. Well, in Mattoon, we had the foresight, or businessmen before us had the foresight to host a World Series in 1969, and then again in 1974, which was the Tournament of Champions. Well, I grew up in a household that loved baseball and understood that. And I remember going to those tournaments, and in the late 90s, Kurt Stretch was developing the fields in Mattoon and really giving us some good facilities. And I remember sitting down with two of my good friends, Dave Cox and Matt Cornell, and we said, you know, we think we could put on a World Series of this magnitude. So we went out and unbeknownst to how much work it was going to be, in 1999, we did put on a World Series, and the town of Mattoon, which just continues to amaze me, showed their support, and people just came out of the woodwork. Businessmen, families, churches, organizations, they all came out and they ended up supporting this tournament, and it was a great success. Well, in 2000, we get a call from Babe Ruth Baseball, and they say, we have exciting news. Cal Ripken Jr. wants to join our organization. So the three of us sat together and said, can we pull this off? Could we actually bring Cal Ripken into Mattoon? Well, we did, and the rest, as you say, might be history, but the history that was made there is we actually had Fox Sports came in, televised the game live from Lawson Park. Sports Illustrated was here. The very first game ever televised on the internet actually happened in Lawson Park here in Mattoon, Illinois, which to me I think are a great accomplishment. A lot of people look at it and they say, boy, you guys did such a great job. We didn't do such a great job. The city of Mattoon did a great job that made us look good. The tournament takes about a year of prep work to put on, but the great part about the tournament is it's about a 10-day event. The first year we hosted the tournament, we had teams come from 10 different states, and the team that everybody was all excited about seeing was the team from Hawaii, because there was something different that the locals hadn't seen before. And it was interesting because you bring these kids in from the different states, and you think of these kids as being, oh, they're just normal kids, but they got into the fabric of Mattoon, and one of my favorite stories is the thing that they realized that you could do in Mattoon was they went teepeeing, which the local people know what teepeeing is, but most people don't know what teepeeing is. So every night they wanted to go out and throw toilet paper up in trees. They found that to be very, very exciting. The teams are here. They usually stay for about 7 nights and host families, which means they're basically separated from their families, and they stay with local families in Mattoon, and they become part of those families' lives. I've talked to several families that have gone back and attended their host kids, if you will, weddings. We hosted kids in a softball tournament, my wife and I, and one of the girls came back for Christmas. That was her Christmas present. She begged her parents to buy her a flight to come back to Mattoon. Well, as we were driving her back, she was from Florida, and she asked us to stop at the rest area in Effingham because there was snow on the ground, and she'd never seen snow before. So it's kind of interesting how it kind of pulls everything together. In the years 2000 and in the World Series that followed it, we actually had international teams. So it was very interesting. We had kids that came in from Korea that spoke zero English whatsoever. Of course, our good neighbor EIU provided us with a Korean student that interpreted for the coaches, but these Korean kids went and stayed in houses in Mattoon, Illinois with people that had no idea how to communicate with them, and they had the times of their lives. So that's basically how the event would work. If you go look at Lawson Park, or you go look at Peterson Park, at Grimes Field or Graham Field, and you see the quality of those fields, the reason those fields are the quality they are is because of the events that were hosted here. So when you look at the business people in Mattoon and the organizations that supported the events, they not only affected that 1 week in August back 15 years ago or 13 years ago, but they've affected many, many weeks in May, June, July, and August for kids for the next 15, 20, 30, 40 years in Mattoon. And it's things like that make Mattoon such a great place to live in.
An exhibit of their work in Cleveland with my daughter, and by the time she and I left the exhibit, we were both in tears because of their stories, the earthiness of these quilts, and the whole inner relationship between them, their past, their history, and the very simple materials they used to make quilts. And then when we saw the quilts, they truly looked like pieces of modern art. They were not like any quilts that I had ever seen. And then 6 years later, my daughter moves to Alabama, and I wanted to find out where Gee's Bend was on the map because I had kind of a wish to go there and meet them or visit them or sew with them or do something. We drove down, we crossed that historic ferry across the river and came into this little community of I would say maybe 100 people live in Gee's Bend. And by the end of the visit, I don't know where it came from, but I looked at them and said, would you come to Illinois? And they overwhelmingly started singing, and they said, you know, yes, we would love to. And as my husband and I are driving up this little gravel road, I looked at him and I said, what have we just done? And I called Justin Grady with the Mattoon Arts Council, and I said, can we bring them? He said, absolutely. And so that started the ball rolling. And in 2012, we brought them, 3 of them the first time. We brought Marion Petway, her cousin China Petway, and Lucy Mingo, one of the oldest quilters still living down there. Some people had seen their work, and so they were excited to actually see the quilts and to meet them. And then when you meet them and you are literally, I don't know how to describe it, but when you're in their presence, you are with some very special women, very strong women, dynamic women historically. When you hear their stories, you think that maybe you've had a hardship or something in your life, and then you hear their stories, and you cannot believe what they've been through and their spirit. And that is imparted wherever they were. The children had a assembly in our school, and usually assemblies with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders can be lively. Let's just say they're not always so well behaved. You could have heard a pin drop during their talk and showing the quilts, and they gave them a standing ovation. They asked them to sing songs for them, and we could see some of the children singing with them. And there were 2 20-year veterans of the school, 2 social studies teachers, who came up to me afterwards and said, Jamie Willis, I've taught here 20+ years, and I have never seen our children so well behaved and so engaged. So it was worth it for that moment. People kept running into me and saying, when are you bringing them back? And so we began a dialogue, would you come back? And when they left in 2012, they've been to, lots of places, Hawaii, Kentucky, Dallas, Houston, Milwaukee. And they said this was our favorite trip. They loved Mattoon. The people welcomed them, made them feel like they were at home. On their second visit, we did something really interesting. We wanted an intergenerational workshop experience. So a parent or a mentor and a student came for 3 nights to the depot, and they were able to sew and quilt, and these students created phenomenal work. So what kids are able to do with some guidance and leadership, and they really connected with those ladies, and you know, there was lots of hugs and crying and songs, and the children would stand and clap and sing with them, and there was just a lot of energy in the room, and I just got to sit back and watch all of that. So, you know, that's part of what I've always done as a teacher, was to pass it down and to create that excitement, whether or not they're ever an artist. They've had an experience with historically important living artists in our country, and it was probably the highlight of my teaching career. The fact that my husband drove me down there to meet them is still a treasure. And the connection between my daughter and myself, and I truly believe there are no accidents, and we are all connected, and that you know, you just connect the dots. And the dots between Cleveland to Auburn to Gee's Bend to Mattoon to my husband driving me down there, because it's a ways and it's not easy to find or get to, and then bringing them to stay in our home, and then to be able to share their energy with my students, who I love dearly. That was special.
And we are back live in the WEIU TV studios. We hope you are enjoying the stories that you are seeing tonight by storytellers in Mattoon.
We are having so much fun, and right now, if you've been enjoying the program, we'd like for you to look at the number and give us a call, because we do have thank you gifts that involve your DVD of the program.
That's right. You'll get 2 DVDs in one set tonight, because there are 32 stories that the storytellers from Mattoon have to share with you. We have phone operators standing by right behind us. So look at the number at the bottom of your screen. Give us a call right now. We're all standing by. We want those phones to ring tonight to support Mattoon and to support the efforts of WEIU, because it's because of public broadcasting stations such as WEIU that bring storytellers to you just like they are right now. And we have our first caller right now, so thank you for calling. And right now we've got a guest in the studio that is going to talk to Lori. So Lori, over to you.
All right, thank you, ladies. I'm here with Chris Considine, one of the storytellers that we just saw about Mattoon baseball. And Chris, actually, you shared a lot of stories with us, but I want you to tell real quick the story about the World Series ring going around the stadium.
Sure, I'd be glad to. You want me to tell some of the other stories, or just that one?
Tell the PBS one.
The ones that can, yes. No problem at all. We want to make sure we keep the public broadcasting going forward. The story I'd like to tell is about Bob Forsch, who was a Major League pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. And Bob Forsch was gracious enough to come and attend the World Series for us, and at no cost to us whatsoever to be in attendance. Well, one day he decides to go out in the left field stands, and he's walking around, he's meeting all his fans, and he pulls off his World Series ring, and somebody says, "Can I see that?" And he says, "Yeah." He goes, "You can see it." He hands it to the people in the crowd. Next thing I know, everybody's trying it on, and they're passing along the bleachers. So the crowd is overflowing, and I'm looking up, and the ring's like 60, 70 feet away from us, and he's not a worry in the world. He's just telling Cardinal baseball stories as the World Series ring's floating along. So it gave me some heart palpitations, but nothing for him, apparently.
Well, that's because they're good Mattoon people, and they would never think of stealing a World Series ring.
Great point.
That's right. Great story, Chris. And if you're enjoying the stories tonight, give us a call. For $75. You can get a DVD of the program that you're watching right now. Pledge at $120 and you'll get 2 DVDs of the program. So great way to remember Mattoon's history and some of the great things that are happening in Mattoon. I'm going to send it over to Mattoon native Jeff Owens right now.
Thanks. There were some great stories from that baseball. We had a blast those 2 weeks. So please call the number on your screen right now and donate and get a DVD of this show, or a couple DVDs if you want to pledge at the $120 level. And they'll really be family heirlooms, and there'll be a living history that you'll have of what is Mattoon and Mattoon. This is our story. So many great people here in the studio, so many great people that are our storytellers. So we'd love to get the phone lines lit up, as they say, and do it. We got one person on the phone right now, but we're so excited to be here tonight, and we want you to give. other TV stations don't do what we do, so we are so happy to bring you this show tonight on WEIU television. I'm excited to hear all the different stories in studio as well as on your screen tonight. So a great night for television, a great night to support Mattoon. This is our story. Here's Ken Armstrong with more information.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm standing by here at the phone bank with a few of the phone operators, and I would also like to thank them. We have Sandra Graven, Phyllis Schultz, and Marilyn Fuquay-Thompson. And I know those names because we have built relationships with these ladies, and they are storytellers as well, so stand by for their stories. But I want to ask, Sandra, why did you take part in this program?
I think WEIU is a fantastic school. I went here, and I think Mattoon, I'm born and raised in Mattoon, and I just think Mattoon has a lot to offer for everyone.
Well, we think so too, and that's why we're sharing stories with you tonight, so thank you for that. And we appreciate you being here tonight supporting WEIU. The phones are ringing right now. Keep them ringing. Call the number at the bottom of your screen. We have a hashtag tonight, as you can see there as well. If you have comments about the show, if you have different stories that you would like to share with us, be sure to get in touch with us. We're here all evening long. There's the gift right there on your screen, and be sure to get your DVDs tonight. The phones are quiet right now. Get them ringing. Back to you, Lori.
All right, thanks, Ken. I'm here with Jamie Willis, who is just one of our storytellers. And in that story, you say that Gee's Bend was not easy to get to, and you credit your husband. Tell us a little bit about what it takes to get to Gee's Bend, Alabama.
We were at Auburn visiting our daughter, and we knew we were within driving distance. And so I kept kind of hinting around that, maybe we want to do that, and we could not find it on a map. And my husband can find anything. It's kind of a family joke. But we kept looking at the map, and it finally occurred to me the actual town is not called Gee's Bend. The actual town is Boykin. And once we found Boykin on the map, GPS aided us a little bit, but we made this journey down towards the coast to find this little tiny community. I knew we had to cross a ferry, and that was phenomenal. It's a ferry ride I'll never forget, and I've ridden ferries my entire life because I'm from near the Mississippi. So, but it was, you just feel this energy coming into this little community, and then when you find the little building. And as we left that day, we had talked with them about coming to Mattoon, and they were very polite, and they sang to us when we left the building as we were leaving, and the hair standing up on your arm. I knew something was really exciting was about to happen for Mattoon, and we got outside and we could hear them literally whooping and hollering and all this commotion going on inside this little bitty building. So I knew they were excited to come to Mattoon as well.
Well, and Mattoon, as you said, really rolled out the red carpet for them. As great, people in this area are very friendly, and I know you said they'd been to lots of places, but they loved it. And you gave them a key to your house because they stayed at your house.
They stayed with my husband and I. It was a way to first of all, get to know them. Second of all, make them feel at home, that they weren't in a hotel. And it also saved on our expenses for the week. And I gave them a key. They'd been in the house about an hour, and I said, I have to go to school during the day. Justin will be bringing you back and forth, and you're going to need this key to get out of the house, get in and out of the house. And so I didn't realize that that was a big deal to them until, a couple of days later. And they kept saying, these folks in Mattoon were so friendly, and Jamie and Roger Willis gave us a key to their house.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for sharing that story. It's
Welcome.
a great one. We've got an evening full of great stories, and we hope you're enjoying the program. Give us a call right now. We'd love to hear from you. Back to the ladies.
Thank you, Lori. Right now, we've had 4 people that have called, and I believe we have 4 people on the line. I'd like to thank Sandra from Mattoon, Phyllis from Mattoon, Marilyn from Mattoon, and Charles from Mattoon. Thank you so much for supporting this program. We talked about, why would WEIU want to go to Mattoon and collect stories? You want to talk about that?
Well, because Mattoon is an interesting town. It's got a lot of history, and you know what? When we had the sneak preview last week for the storytellers, there were people who came that said, I've lived here 30, 40 years, and I have learned things about my town that I didn't know because of the stories these storytellers told. So be sure to get your copy of the DVD set tonight by calling one of our phone operators. All of our phone operators are storytellers or a part of WEIU in some form or fashion, and so you'll get to talk to one of them, and they may share part of their story with you as well. But you know what? Speaking about those stories, one of the stories that really resonated with me was the First Mid-Illinois Bank and Trust because of the community portion and the farmer. Wasn't that a cool story to share?
Can you imagine being in the bank when the farmer was coming in and using their facilities? It was a really, really good story.
Yeah, and the Helen Douglas Hart and the mission that woman had, and you know, it's things like that that really makes Mattoon the town that it is, and the people really support one another, and we're seeing that tonight because you are making the phones ring. Keep them ringing. Call the number at the bottom of your screen right now. Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh, that's surprising. Hey, it's great so far. We've got 4 or 5 calls already. The phones are busy, the ladies are busy, and we can't wait till you become the next member of WEIU by supporting the station tonight and buying the DVDs of Mattoon. This is our story. So many great people, so many great underwriters, so many great storytellers have been involved in this. Chris Constantine just gave the show, then he went over and he also became a member of Donated Tonight. So we appreciate that very much. Phone lines have been greatly busy, so we're excited and we'll continue to move on, and ladies want it back, I guess.
Right now we have 4 people that have called, but we have people on the line as well. Let's get to 15.
Yeah,
to me, it works out when you just say, let's get to a goal. So right now we're aiming for 15 callers. So if you're at home right now and you love this program and you're excited that we have come to Mattoon and people of Mattoon have told stories, give us a call.
That's right. Our phone operators are standing by. You'll hear it ring every once in a while. We're not hearing them ring right now. We want to hear them ring. So give us a call. The number at the bottom of your screen. There's Sandra on the phone right now, but we have Phyllis and Marilyn, and we have Beth, and we have Sharon, and we have Carolyn over here. All storytellers tonight supporting WEIU, supporting Mattoon. So be sure to give them a call right now. We're going to be with you all evening long. Some of the stories that are coming up next, we'll be hearing about Sarah Bush Hospital, Mattoon Journal-Gazette, when Harry Truman stopped in town for a campaign, and
Lakeland College and the history of Burgess Osborne Auditorium, and that's where we interviewed the storytellers. What a great, great auditorium. And we're also going to hear about Girls on the Run.
That's
and
right.
Beth is here tonight, and what a great story that is as well.
And Steve Thompson is here tonight as well. He's watching in the control room. We've got this theater filled tonight, and the control room as well. So Steve has been really a great recruiter for storytellers. We want to give a shout out to him because he's really been a big part of this program, and the Burgess Osborne was a great place to interview our storytellers, and we want to thank the City of Mattoon for that as well. So if you want to continue supporting WEIU and the efforts of Mattoon and the storytellers, please continue to give us a call right now at the number at the bottom of your screen.
You know, I was thinking about, people said, why did you go to Mattoon? Why did you choose Mattoon? And Jeff Owens was one of our staff, and he said, you know, Mattoon believes in what they do there. They're proud of their community, they're proud of their educational and all that there, so they're proud of the town. So we went to Mattoon, and boy, did they come through.
They did. And now we're going to give it over to Lori for just one moment.
All right, thanks, ladies. One of the people, Sharon, had asked us, how many hours of footage did you tape probably to do this 2.5-hour show? We figured about 800 minutes worth of Kate. I'm going to ask, Kate Pleasant is sitting off camera. She's going to do the math for me. We interviewed 32 people at the Burgess Osborne, probably for 15 minutes apiece, and then we taped and condensed that all down. So lots of 13 hours of interviews is approximation of what we had to work with, and such great stories, and some were told off camera. Chris Constantine gave us a few that we couldn't really put on TV that were really good about that wonderful time back in 1999 when the Babe Ruth baseball came to Mattoon, and Mattoon again really rolled out the red carpet. We want to thank you if you've already called and supported WEIU, supported Mattoon. There's still time. Don't forget, at $75 you'll get that 2 DVD set of the program, 2.5 hours of material, or at the 120 level, you'll get 2 DVDs, so it's actually a total of 4. So give us a call right now. Ladies, back to you.
We are back, and I'd like to give a big shout out to John and Robin, Chris and Barb. Do you have some people we need to thank?
I do. I have Dale from Mattoon, Gloria from Mattoon, and Marilyn and Ed from Mattoon. Great supporters from the city of Mattoon tonight. Keep those phones ringing. You'll get some great DVDs tonight if you call the number at the bottom of your screen and become a member of WEIU. It's 2 DVDs you're getting with 32 stories, as you see right there on your screen. And you know what? If you get 2 sets, then we'll give you a discount right there. And you may have someone that lives out of state that was a part of Mattoon that you might want to share that gift with.
That's a good idea. And you know, right now, if you're sitting there and you're like, you know, I want to get back to the program, we're going to get back in just a second. If you want to call, give us a call right now.
That's right. We'll be standing by. It doesn't matter whether the stories are on or not. Give us a call. We'll see you in a bit.